Hey girls, we're doing this.
Welcome to our very first episode. We are so excited you're here. We are going to chat everything from friendship to business, back to friendship, and how we plan to serve you best on this podcast.
We are so excited to share our story with you. So pull up a seat at our table and let's dive in. You're listening to the Girl Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast, where we invite you to check your ego at the app, grab a cup of coffee, and get ready to dive into all things real estate marketing, social media, friendship, hardship, love, money mindset, and all the things that celebrate you as a badass boss babe.
We're here to encourage you, show up for you, give you a loving kick in the pants when you need it most, and be your soft place to land on the hardest of days. So pull up a seat at our table and get ready to be inspired and start living your best life by design.
Welcome to the Girl Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast. We are so excited you're here.
Okay, girls, let's dive in.
Okay, we're here.
Oh my God, we're doing this.
Very first episode, so please bear with us.
Oh my goodness.
We're super excited to have you here.
We're kind of nervous. We talked about this before we pushed the record button that we're a little bit nervous and super excited.
Once you hit record or you just all of a sudden stare at each other and realize you're recording, all of a sudden it's, oh, we're doing this.
Oh crap, we got to talk.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we're just chatting away before this. So no, but we're really pumped you're here and we are thrilled for our first episode.
It's super exciting. Well, so should we dive in and talk about like who we are?
Absolutely. Let's do this.
Okay, you start.
Okay, so I am Christy. I am the director and producer of creative services at the BPR Experience, co-founder of the Bus Bench Babes, a mama to a 2-year-old, a wife to a pretty cool guy, and friends with Beth. So a photographer also. I should probably mention
a photographer is a big piece also of who you are, yes.
Yeah, so Beth and I go back, how long?
13 years.
13 years, yeah. So we've been friends that long, and our journey here has been interesting.
It has been.
So let's hear a little bit about you.
I'm Beth Peterson Randall. I am the co-founder of the Bus Bench Babes, and I am the founder of the BPR Experience, a real estate team. I'm currently licensed at Keller Williams in the Minneapolis area, and no children. I have fur babies. So I have a fur dog, and my beloved kitty that I had for 23 years died last year.
Kitty.
But we have a new kitty on order. We're just waiting for he or she to be born. Oh. So I will have a new little kitty in my life, which Marcus thinks I'm going to carry it around in like a purse or something stupid.
You mean Mark's going to carry it around probably?
Maybe. So I'm married to the hilarious Mark Randall. You're going to hear a lot more about him. He's a total clown. He's always goofing off and making me laugh my butt off. And yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, so let's dive into kind of how we met and what got us to this point. What do you say?
Sure.
So Beth and I met about 13 years ago, we're thinking. Yep. My grandpa was really sick, and we were both helping take care of him, basically. She was in home health care at the time.
I was taking a hiatus from the real estate mortgage world at the time after the crash in 07, 08. Like, life was hellacious, and I was working with some of my girlfriends that own a home health care company. And Christy's grandpa, who we lovingly called Papa.
Yes.
Everybody called him Papa. It wasn't just like us girls. Like that was everyone. So like when you'd be out with him in public, everyone's like, "Oh, your grandpa, he's so adorable." And I would just like, "Yeah, he is. He's adorable." And it was just too much to explain. But Christy and I worked the night shift, and like, what are you going to do? Like, the whole house is sleeping. Papa was sleeping most of the time. And so Christy and I we're chatted for 12-hour shifts. And of course, like, how are you not going to become friends with someone? It was just supernatural.
We had so many things in common. We were very different, but had so many things in common. And our friendship, the foundation of it really started then, I think, right? I mean, like, right away, like from day one, which was really cool. Beth.
So Christy and I realized that we were like becoming like super great friends, and we have so many things in common. We were both raised by like badass single moms who are like workhorse type ladies that really set a super awesome example of like what hard work and like a good work ethic looks like.
Yes.
We both like loved to travel. Christy actually was a photographer. She was
still am.
She still is. But at the time, she was helping her grandpa part-time, and then she was building a bridal photography business.
Wedding photography, yeah.
Yeah, it was she's gonna be way more humble about this, but at the time, in the height of her career, she was one of the most sought after wedding photographers in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. So her work is unbelievable.
So I don't shoot weddings anymore, but
no. But so I was so drawn to like her creativity. She just like busts her ass and gives it 110% on every project that she dives into. And we both have this mutual desire to like explore and see the world and see how other cultures live, and that we toured Egypt together, and that was super fun.
That was such an incredible trip. That was amazing.
Yeah,
we travel really well together. So side note here, I don't just travel with anyone, and I would travel anywhere with Beth. So I'm
finding the right travel partner is a big deal.
Yeah, and once we went to Egypt, I was like, oh, I can travel with Beth anywhere. So that was pretty cool too. So yeah, our friendship has been going strong for many years.
Christy and I always knew. So like, we're sitting there in the middle of the night, working and taking care of her grandpa, but then also talking about, like, I think we just kind of fed off each other's creativity, and 100%. We always knew at some point that we would have some sort of collaboration. At the time, there wasn't any opportunities that presented itself, but I think it was probably in the back of both of our minds. Don't you agree?
I absolutely think so. And once you find that person, if you're in any creative field or any small business, really, once you find that person that really kind of like completes that creative energy for you when you're in that setting, like you can show up together, it really motivates you and kind of lights you up. So definitely realized right away that we did that for each other, and down the road, maybe something would happen, but really until the universe just kind of aligned everything, which happened just a little over a year ago. We were friends, just creative and working and doing our own thing.
Yeah. The funniest thing, it was just, Christy asked me this question and it sort of threw me for a loop. She said, why do realtors still put their face on bus benches? And I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah. So let's back up just a little bit. So I'd had my daughter, who's now 2, and Kaya was like maybe 5 or I don't know, maybe 7 months old at this time.
Yeah, she was little.
And I was at my brain, I'd have all this time because I'd be sitting in a chair nursing her while she slept, because that's how she slept. And all these thoughts and creativity came to me then. And it's literally still how most of it comes to me, early morning hours or late night hours, which is very interesting. But I think it's because I have this like open space there to do it. So I started getting these ideas of thinking about Beth and ideas for her business. And I could not for the life of me understand why there were still people's faces on bus benches. And yeah, so I asked her this question, and what was your response, Beth?
I was stumped, and I was like, at first of all, it's a weird question.
Such a weird question.
I have never used that as my marketing method, but I was just like, I said, I think it's just because it's always how it's been done.
Yeah, you were like, I don't know. And then I kept asking more and pressing you on it, and you were just like, it's just like how it's been done.
I don't know.
And I'm like, but their faces are on bus benches. So hence the name of this podcast, where this all came from, was this conversation. So this really, and I was wondering, like, why haven't they changed up their marketing since I don't even know how long?
It felt like such a thing to do, like maybe in like the 70s and 80s when people would actually, we live in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Like, not as many people take the bus here as in other cities in the country, but it really felt like really like an 80s or 70s thing
to do. It's so strange.
We're in 2020 for crying out loud.
Absolutely no offense if you have your face on a bus bench right now at all. but let's maybe find ways to get a little more creative with marketing and put those dollars somewhere else instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's that one question that Christy asked me really led to the whole collaboration of you and I working together.
It did. So after that, we basically scheduled a happy hour, not work related whatsoever. Right. We scheduled a happy hour. We hadn't gotten together in quite some time. You know, I was living the mama life.
This was pre-COVID. This was like the end of 2019.
Pre-COVID. And we scheduled a happy hour and we got together, and, you know, it was super nice to reconnect. And it had been like probably a few months since we saw each other.
I think so. Yeah.
Just mom life. And that was when you asked the question of what would it look like to work together?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really
and
how
I
it
said,
all
give me an idea of like what a collaboration would look like, you know, send me a proposal. Cause you were just jonesing to be creative and out there again.
The ideas were just flowing out of me. And this was really where we came up with the ideas for it. I pitched Beth like what I thought. Pitch is such a weird word.
It is a weird word. It feels so official.
It feels so official. And for like running a small business for years and not really working for someone, when I say these words that feel very corporate, it feels so stale and strange to me. So I apologize for that. But this really led to the collaboration, and I sat down and got to work. Like, how could we really, you know, change stuff up for Beth and like really reinvent the wheel for real estate marketing and how that would serve her clients better? And that's when we started Your Personal Brand.
Yep. So I was on a real estate team. I had been for like 5 years at that point. And I think what we were feeling was the brand itself really didn't feel like me at all. And why would it? I didn't develop that brand. It was somebody else's brand. I was just a part of that brand at that time. And we developed a BPR personal brand. So the Beth, Peterson, Randall, the reason we used initials is that a lot of people have always called me by my initials.
Yes.
It was always BP when I was single, and then I got married, and then it was like, oh, BPR. And it just sort of stuck. So I don't know.
Yeah, we went back and forth with ideas on names, and we're like, whatever, like just going with BPR because it's totally you and it makes so much sense. And just to like go back just a little bit with the personal brand there. So we really wanted to make sure. So Beth is a creative. Absolutely. She's amazing with people. I saw so much potential in her that was not being executed. Not that she wasn't in her personal life or with her friendships, but in business, it was like a huge miss. So I knew she was serving her clients really well, but I also knew there could be so much more going on for her. So this personal brand was to really take her and like take it to the next level, really. So we wanted to bring in, she has a design degree. She is super creative. She's amazing, you know, with her clients. So like tying everything into this brand to really serve her people well.
Yeah, it's all the things that I had been doing in just like separate little arenas that for whatever reason I had sort of kept them all in their own little boxes.
Yes.
And so creating a personal brand pretty much just took everything that I was doing, but put it all in one space. It packaged it really pretty.
I remember.
Is that a good way to describe it?
Absolutely. I remember, you know, the years or maybe months leading up to us working together, I would say things like, that's so on brand, Beth. Like when I would meet with her, or probably the years leading up, I would say it to you and you'd be like, okay, whatever that means. Like you would say that to me and you would laugh. And it's because Beth is literally like, her brand is literally her. And I know there is a separation and we're going to dive into that, you know, in other episodes. But when I say her brand is her, not all of her is in her brand, but her brand identifies as her. Like it absolutely does. So creating this was super fun. And I wanted to make sure that she had this like outlet to be able to use all of these pieces of her personality and her life and put it into one. And I knew it would serve her clients in a completely different way at a different capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you had introduced me to another creative human being that
Allison.
Is spectacular.
Yes. She's incredible. Allison of Allie Marie Design did all of the branding for Beth and for the team too, that we're going to chat about in a little bit here. And she's incredible. If you want to look her up, go for it. Get on her waiting list if you can, because it's long and she's amazing. And yeah.
It's worth the wait. I had to wait.
It's worth the wait.
Well, you had introduced me to her, and then in my mind, I'm like, I'm just going to pick up the phone and I'm going to, have her start working on stuff next week. And Christy's like, so she had recently come off of maternity leave. She has a little girl also.
Who is exactly 9 months younger than Kaya, my daughter.
So she was just maneuvering and trying to figure out mom life and being an entrepreneur as well and a small business owner.
Yes.
And Christy's like, well, we'll see if we can have her squeeze us into her schedule. So we had to wait probably 4 months in order to get on her,
a while. So
her calendar.
Beth, I think that's really important to mention that you don't have to have professional designed items to start, right?
True.
So you can create a brand and create.
We were doing it without that.
We were
initially.
absolutely doing it because we're
on a wait list.
Yeah, we started early February,
Yep.
and we didn't have Allison, I think, until May.
Yep.
Does that sound about right?
Something like that.
Ish?
Yeah.
April maybe. So really you don't so I don't want you to sit at home and think, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. Like I can't, there's no way I could do this because I don't have these funds to hire a designer, all that kind of thing. There are other ways to do it. And absolutely that does matter. Your visual identity, your brand identity visually is hugely important. But more so than anything is just you identifying your ideal client and truly executing your brand properly. So we were doing that from the get-go and then kind of waiting for Allison to pretty it all up. In the meantime, though, we started your email list.
Yeah, that was terrifying when you're like, guess what? We're going to start emails. And I'm like, what?
Yes, we started by totally revamping Beth's Instagram. We took baby steps here also. You don't have to dive into everything at once. I didn't have the capacity to do everything. Beth didn't have the capacity to do everything. So let's start where we can. We started with Instagram. And we totally revamped how we were communicating with her clients and how she was, just communicating with friends and everyone to truly showcase her. And that was a huge undertaking for Beth because there's a lot of vulnerability that comes into play there. And so really diving into that.
I wasn't posting regularly.
No,
I didn't have a plan or a system.
Yep,
I was just I legit was just winging it. And it wasn't. It just wasn't being executed.
It's a pretty Instagram. But it wasn't generating the profits like it should have been. There wasn't, the generating of the profits from Instagram specifically. And you weren't being showcased.
It wasn't intentional.
It wasn't intentional.
By any means, yeah.
And we weren't building real relationships with people via this outlet of social media, which when I say profits, of course, right, we all need to make money. That is the bottom line, is the goal. But building relationships is absolutely number one in everything that we do. It's our priority. So we knew we could start there. And that's what we did. And then once we tackled that for a little bit, I was like, all right.
I didn't feel like I was fully I didn't feel like I was ready. And Chrissy's like, guess what? I think we should jump into emails. And I'm like, what? No,
There were some swear words. There
was a lot of resistance.
Kidding me?
She was ready to just push me right off the cliff. Like, we're doing it.
Yep.
Start to fly, friend.
So I knew this was absolutely where we needed to put effort into to really, get in front of our audience weekly.
And what you always say is that really the only thing that you own in business is an email list.
Your email list. So if you haven't heard this, or if you have and you've just tucked it away and forgot about it, the only thing that you own is your email list. Okay. So you have Instagram, you have Facebook, you have TikTok, you have Clubhouse, whatever you have, those are followers. You do not own those. You absolutely don't own those. You own your email list. So if you are thinking of putting money into anywhere, this is absolutely where you need to do it. Sure, you get the instant gratification of Instagram and Facebook, to the pretty pictures with the pretty posts and the engagements and all that. But the email list is where you're going to generate most of your profits, in my opinion. Yeah. So, and what we've seen as well.
Well, I heard a statistic at one of my conferences, a virtual conference, by the way, last year, that there's a 1,400% return on emails. And I was like, yes, thank you very much. I'm already doing emails.
Okay, so let's chat. I know this is only our first episode, so we're kind of derailing here, but just to give you some snippets, we did the numbers on that. I remember you sending me that stat, and we crunched the numbers, and you absolutely were there. Yeah. You were in par with where we should be, which is incredible for her first, not even doing it for a year. It's amazing. So really, we dove into emails and the strategy behind that. We've been hugely successful with email. And you've really opened up relationships with people. I mean, who you're hearing from via email. It's incredible.
It's so much fun. I'll send Christy a little note after a weekly email goes out. And it's so interesting we do a varied topic. So some's real estate, some's like marriage related, some's, we did a bunch of great holiday content.
The holidays were a blast.
Yeah, we really are trying to, a lot of design stuff because every time we ask, we're like, what do you want to hear more about? Design, more design. And so we're like, okay, we heard you, calm down. We'll give you more design. But it's so fun to see the people that are responding to the emails, and it's people that I haven't heard from in years. I've been sending them stuff for years. And that is it just really warms my heart every week when I get responses.
So I want to chat numbers for a second here. Okay. So we saw so much growth in like 10 months, Beth?
Yeah, it was pretty insane.
It was nearly 70%, correct? Yeah. Am I right?
My mind was kind of blown. I ran the numbers and I looked at it. I'm like, this can't be right. Like, clearly I have a math problem. And I went so far as to Google how to calculate the percentage of growth. Cause I'm like, maybe I'm doing this wrong. I don't think I told you that part before because I didn't want you to. I'm like, I'm an art major, not a math major.
There's no way.
I'm like, maybe this is totally wrong. I'm like, I don't want to be spouting incorrect. I love stats, but I'm like, I like to make sure I get my facts correct before I start talking about them. So I did crunch the numbers 2 or 3 times just to double check my own math, and then called Christy and I'm like, can I share something with you? And I'm like, I just looked at my numbers and they are insane. So the one number that really sort of blew my mind is that my income had increased by nearly 70% in 10
I was like, holy
months.
Shit. What? I knew the work
that we were doing. That's why I had to double check my math. It seemed really not believable.
Yeah. So at this point, we had tackled Instagram. We had tackled email. We were building up that client base that was, Beth was serving them incredibly. And we tackled Facebook too, which we'll talk about at a later date. And the writing was on the wall, friend, wasn't it?
It was.
So
I made the decision to leave the team that I had been on and to launch my own team. And let me tell you, that was terrifying.
So let's pause for a second here. And I want to mention that, depending on when you're listening to this podcast or if, timing kind of gets a little bit mixed up because, for me, it does with years. But we did this during COVID. We did this during a global health pandemic, during a civil rights crisis in our cities. I live in St. Paul. Beth is right outside of Minneapolis. So we did all of this during 2
really crazy times in history.
Intense times here. And Beth, I had written down in a notebook, in the very early months, team. And I kind of kept writing it down.
Thank God you didn't tell me that because I would have had a heart attack.
I never told her. But when we had developed this brand of hers, the BPR brand, when we developed this, we always had so many parameters. We were in a box. We had this great brand. We were still in a box and we still had to serve clients in a specific way that was according to the team you're on, which was a great team, but it wasn't serving you the same way that you needed to be. And it wasn't, going to serve your clients in a way that you could if you left.
Right.
So.
But I appreciate the fact that you let me come to my own conclusion on that. And then I still remember, I can remember where I was sitting. I was sitting in my kitchen at my little breakfast nook table and I called Christy and she screamed so loud she almost blew my eardrum through the phone. And she's like, it's about fucking time. She's like, awesome. She's like, she's like, it's no holds bar. She's like, we are going for it. She's like, I have so many ideas. And I'm like, okay.
You're like, oh no, I have goosebumps right now thinking about this. I also remember exactly where I was when Beth called me and I just was like, finally, here we go. It was just so amazing because we knew we could now execute at a completely different level and we could start serving people in a totally different way.
Yeah.
So this was a really fun place for us to be.
It was awesome.
Yeah. And truly, we proved that real estate marketing could be done better. We really did.
And hence the tagline of the BPR experience is real estate only better.
Yeah. So going back to 2020 and the global health pandemic and the civil rights crisis in our cities during this time, I think it's really important that we take a step back here and talk about that for just a minute, because Beth and I both recognize the privilege that this podcast platform gives us, that the privilege that the Bus Bench Babes Instagram page gives us, that the privilege of being, a white woman working in real estate gives us. That is huge. And so we just want to take a step back here to say we recognize that and we are aware of it and we are absolutely learning as we go, and we are putting into place really implementing things that we think will serve our entire community as a whole.
And we totally know we are not going to get this right 100% of the time.
We're not.
And we really are working hard to learn. And we just hope that you will be here to learn alongside of us and give us that loving kick in the pants if we miss the mark.
Yeah. Yes, please. And also, just know that if you do too, this is your soft place to land, and we'll hold you accountable as well, because change needs to happen. We recognize that, and we plan to be a part of it. We're going to put that right out there in our first episode.
We are. Yes. We're here for it. All of it.
So
the whole goal of this podcast is really to start a conversation about how real estate can be done better and how we can serve this whole real estate community better.
Absolutely. And we're here to be that soft place to land when you miss the mark too. Or if you're struggling, like a resource for you. We're here with we're going to share our tips and tricks that we've learned along the way with you and really hold each other accountable.
For sure.
We can change up this industry. We truly believe we can, because we already are.
Well, and this is all about building a bigger table and encourage other women realtors. And even if you're not, you don't have to be in real estate to be here.
You don't.
A small business owner, male, female, everyone's welcome here.
Yeah. And the whole, Beth has said to me many times about how isolating the real estate business can be.
It is.
And so scarcity mindset, judgment, your ego, we're going to literally check all that once you open the app. And we're going to just be a safe place for everyone to come as you are. That's very important for us.
Yeah, we're so excited about it.
We are. So we're here to cheer you on. We want you to feel safe. We want you to be excited. And we want you to, anytime that scarcity mindset comes in, or judging other women,
creeping in your mind,
that junk that happens to all of us, check it and regroup, and then let's start again.
Yep. I love it. I'm so excited.
I love it. So yeah, we're so excited you're here. We have tons of goodness coming to you this month even, right?
Yep.
We're super excited, and we can't wait to share more of our story with you as well. So hit us up in the comments on our Instagram. If you're not following us already, we would love to chat there. Yeah.
We did it.
We did it.
Oh my gosh, we made it through our first podcast episode.
We did. We made it through our first podcast episode, and we're going to go back to this over and over and probably that was our first one. It was our first one.
Yeah. It can only get better from here, girls.
It can only get better from here. So thank you for listening to our first episode of the Girl Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast. Okay, we did it. That was really exciting. Our very first episode, we dove into the beginning of how we started our friendship, where we plan to go next, and how we are going to serve you best on this podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Girl Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast. Until next time, remember to keep your face off a bus bench and keep celebrating the badass boss babe that you are.
Okay, girls, are you feeling as inspired as we are? We're over here cheering you on because you just finished another episode of the Girl Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast.
If you want more, head over to girlgetyourfaceoffabusbench.com for show notes and more episodes. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. They mean the world to us, and they're what keep us going.
Girl, thanks for being here.